So you came into this life basically studying Buddhism?
Not quite. I came into this journey as a spiritual seeker, somebody who wanted to find out who they were, how they got here, and what's the point of being here? What am I doing here? And I wanted to know those answers. I wanted to find everything about myself, my own identity and my relationship, more importantly, with the universe, the cosmos. And to meet that intelligence, that higher intelligence, which is so filled with compassion and beauty and love. And I wanted to know who that was. So that was really the start of my journey. And in order to do that, I found myself living in a very blessed, beautiful environment, which some people may know as an ashram, other people may know as a spiritual sanctuary, but it's a beautiful place which enables you to not only connect with nature, but to give you the space to understand spiritual pursuits and their power, their potency, and their relevancy in the journey inside. Because that's where the magic is, that's where the knowledge is. The outside world is nothing more than manifestation of the inside world. So in order to find out who I was, I knew I had to journey in, but I didn't have any knowledge of how to do that. So my whole journey, my whole voyage has been very innocent, very much like a child, where it's just been said, okay, you do this, and that's all you need to do. And so that's what I did. I was given a mala, a rosary bead, 108 beads, the prayer beads in various religions. And I was given these words, which I knew nothing about. And I very obediently and very diligently just repeated them as I was told to, not knowing what to expect, not knowing what to do about it. And 6 months passed, and I remember very, very vividly that morning. It was like every other morning. I woke up at 4 o'clock and prepared myself for the morning prayers. And I remember sitting down, and that particular morning, and from my heart, I said, Lord, God, I want to see you. I want to know who you are. And I'm not going to move until you reveal yourself to me.
I called it Buddhist, but it's not Buddhist, it's a different type of community. Have I got the wrong name? What type of community was it?
Well, it's I suppose you could say that it's based on a Hinduism form of spirituality, but I've never viewed myself as a Hindu. I've never viewed myself as any religion. In fact, I was brought up as a Christian in the church, studying the Bible, singing in the choir in the church. I loved it. So I've been very fortunate that I've had a taste of many of the religions, and what I've found is that every single one of them has the same common ground. And that's the beauty, that there is no need for separation. There is no difference in any of us. The outer shell or the expression is irrelevant. It's as different as the clothes that we wear, but inside we're exactly the same. We're all saying the same thing using different language. And so it's lovely to have a way to connect to that common ground, to find the very essence of who we all are. And the way that I have been very blessed and very fortunate to experience that is through music. And the way that music arrives is a very beautiful thing for me. It's the most it's the most divine, most loving time that I have, most connected that I have, and it's the most sacred because I recognize that my mind isn't involved. It's almost like I've just stepped out of the way of everything, and in that space something happens, something flows, and for me it's always magical.
You're aware of the sudden presence of this divine being that assists you in the music. This is the most amazing thing. This first apparition that came to you, can you tell us about it again?
Well, this was This was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in June 2005, and I was in my apartment doing nothing, just an ordinary day, no appointments, nobody coming to see me, and nothing happening. And just shortly after midday, I started to feel a change in the energy in the center of my chest. And by a change, I mean I started to feel a little bit different. Not uncomfortable, but just different. And I've begun to recognize that that is the calling card. That's the time when I'm being asked to go and prepare myself to receive some form of communication. I have no idea what communication it will be. But at that particular moment, that particular day, I was asked to go and sit at my keyboard in my little home studio. And as I waited for the computer software to boot up, I just sat quietly with my eyes closed and I waited. And the feeling within the center of my chest grew more and more intense. And I knew something was arriving, but I had no idea what was. And within just a few seconds, I felt a force lift both my arms, both my forearms, just above the keys. And with my eyes closed, my fingers gently fell upon the keys. And they fell upon the most beautiful notes. I couldn't have even imagined how I could have done this with my eyes open or thought about this. But this chord, a series of notes that I played all together at one time, just sounded heavenly. And yet it was the same sound that I always begin my compositions with. So why was the same sound feeling so different? And then as I began to become immersed in this sound, my fingers moved to the next chord and to the next. And there was this beautiful rhythm that started to play within me. Bum, 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 bum. And it was like it was coming, something was arriving. And I remember that moment so vividly that the beauty of it was overwhelming, and I arched my back and I lifted my head up to the ceiling, eyes closed, and I said, "This is so beautiful. I can't believe this is so beautiful." And the second that I'd said that, the darkness within my closed vision opened up like curtains on a stage,